Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about how to set up a ranger, or in specific here, a Deadeye, in order to tackle some of the hardest content in the game. So my experience with Endgame so far has been that evasion, just pure evasion, works really good until like tier 15, maybe even tier 16. But after that, the difficulty curve goes up quite hard. And on top of that, you have keystones like Corrupted Infusion or Deadly Evolution that you really want to run just to maximize your currency output. And at that point, stuff like breaches get a lot harder. Ritual is just jumping at you, especially if you're kind of in a very narrow corner. The evading part alone just doesn't really cut it if you're looking at like 2 to 2.5k life. And well, fact of the matter is energy shield right now is broken. As we all know, it is not really balanced with life, and that's what we're just going to use. Now, important to note, in the macro guide, I updated a section here into Ultimate Endgame Energy Shield Transformation. I made a new gear set, which we're going to talk about in this video. I basically explain all my choices, so if you're more into written stuff or you want to kind of like have this open along, that's where you can go. As well as that, I actually made a weapon swap explanation up here. So if you're confused about that, I also included a completely new passive tree and the weapon swap. If you go right here, you can see that there is a energy shield plus weapon swap tree. And this is basically what we're going to respec into and what we're going to talk about in this video. Now in the background, you will see that I currently have 1,771 energy shield on top of my life. This will actually get doubled by Grim Feast. So Grim Feast is a persistent gem, basically an aura, that reserves 30 of your spirit, and it gives you these remnants that drop whenever you kill an enemy. It also spawns in other ways, but for us, specifically only on kill. This is what basically every energy shield build is using right now, and it is just incredible because most of the content that isn't pinnacle content, you just have double energy shield. The thing is, how do you get energy shield into your evasion based build? And you might think that is pretty hard to do, but I can show you some pathing that I've personally done. So first, I thought I would have to actually go up and grab all of these clusters, and I would have to remove all the bottom here, which would have been really bad, especially since I couldn't grab the AoE nodes anymore and my explosive shot was a lot less girthy. But even then, I failed to understand just how easy it was. The Path of Exile 2 support for energy shield is just so much more efficient than in PoE 1. You don't actually need that much. And one of the things I did is actually path to the monk starting area. We're basically copying the homework of monk here. This is what a lot of monks are running, right? Grim Feast or Ghost Shrouds or both, whatever you prefer. And they just have such a strong starting area that it's honestly ridiculous. So we path all the way over here. We grab evasion energy shield, evasion energy shield here. And then we can also fill out these two nodes. On top of that, you might think, oh, that's not enough, but it really is, because a body armor can be so goddamn strong. You get 400 energy shield right here already. You can then use Ancient Aegis. In case you don't know, this got fixed in a recent hotfix. This used to be bugged. This node used to be bugged, but now it works. It gives you 60% of your energy shield from equipped armor. So the 419 times 0.6 you get is flat on top. After that, we also got a little bit of flat on the gloves right here, as you can see. Basically just changed the base from evasion to energy shield, and then we got it on the boots as well. This is obviously isn't the perfect base, but it is what it is. Now, a big problem is that we're still too far away from percentage, right? Like, I'm going to pick up all these percentages, but it would be nice to maybe get to this cluster. But as you can see here, I'm already level 90, and this is quite the rough pathing. And sure, you could give up damage, but I mean, yeah, you can theoretically. But what I opted to do is just stick with 1,700 energy shield. And so basically I got 50+ on my amulet. You can get so much right now. It goes up to 50, and the rest comes from the quality defense modifier, which comes from one of the catalysts. Another thing you can get is a sapphire with percentage maximum energy shield. Now, there's only a few mods that are actually relevant here, so it is pretty hard to get them. Percentage max ES, shock duration LA damage is what I got here. Obviously, you don't just want to get percentage maximum energy shield. You also want to get some damage mods, maybe magnitude of shock or stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is it is really easy to double or even triple your max HP. And in those high tier maps, I'm going to show you one in a second, it is just invaluable. Now, changes I made on the passive tree is basically I removed the top side here completely. So stuff like instant reload is gone, adrenaline rush is gone. We do get a little bit of movement speed back though. What I also noticed is that my freeze buildup got a lot better with these nodes right here. Obviously, you have these premium evasion energy shield nodes. Even the small ones are so goddamn good. I'm gonna take these two. These kind of suck, unfortunately. And yeah, skill speed. If I'm high enough level, there's a good chance I'm actually going to path up here and then take Shimmering and Immaterial, but that's going to have to wait for a while. As for weapon swap points, I changed it around a little bit. It's still the same with the AoE on your main hand weapon. But then I also removed, as you can see right here, I'm using 12 of my weapon passives. I actually removed this part here, and I only have it on my first weapon. Reason being, I don't really need movement speed at the boss, and evasion isn't that good on the boss either way, especially because I'm not running acrobatics anymore. So in that case, yeah, I basically respect them. And whenever I have my bossing setup up, so with shock burst rounds, I have lightning rod, I have flash storm, and then on top there, you can also see I have surging currents. All right, so let me show you this map right here with quite a bit of modifiers real quickly. Let's put it into, I don't know, sulfuric caverns, I guess, whatever. There's not really, I don't think there's a boss inside, but it wouldn't really matter either way. I'm just going to show you the mapping. So these grim thingies, let me actually turn on sound real quick. Can you hear it? Kinda. Okay. So whenever you kill stuff, you can see right here, Grim Feast, which is supported with nothing, by the way. This is important. You can get extra spirit from the body armor, but do note that there's a lot of trap supports that will actually increase your spirit consumption. So just make sure that you're not falling for that. In general, I don't think there's anything here that you can really support it with. Maybe if I find something, I'll put it in the guide. In general, you'll just get these essences or remnants while mapping that you can pick up. Now, one thing you'll notice while playing is that I don't really get chunked on my life anymore. Did you see these blue flames? These are basically these essences. Now, you don't have to really go back and pick them up. They just, since you're a ranged build, you will shoot ahead and they will die and you will run over them automatically. So don't think you have to make this like a mini game or something. If you want to, you can, but it is not annoying whatsoever. That's all I'm trying to tell you here. And you can see my energy shield right now. We're now at max, 3,500. So not only is this a method of recovery, it also just gives me so much max hit. I almost tripled, like against one-shots and stuff like that, my HP right now. It is so goddamn crazy just how much tankier I feel, and I've just been gaining levels over and over. I was a little bit on 88, and now we're just at 90, and I have not been dying since changing at all. It is an absolute bliss. And if you're on the fence about this, I would highly recommend saving up for this. It is, like I said, not cheap at all to do, but it will pay off. I can guarantee you that. I cannot speak highly enough of this. Now, there is some other ways which we're going to talk about in a second, but those are even more expensive. Fact of the matter is, you can see my life trickling down. It just doesn't matter. Fact of the matter is, life versus ES is not fair right now. And Stormweavers and stuff like that just have a certain advantage, and we have to, like, I mean, if you can't fight it, just join it. Now, one more thing I want to talk about is Ghost Dance. So Ghost Dance is incredibly strong. Basically, what it does is when you get hit, you consume a Ghost Shroud, and you get back a certain amount of energy shield. For me, currently, I would get like 1,000 energy shield back whenever I get hit, which is very good recovery. However, I found it not to really be useful because Grim Feast just does everything I want. It also costs another 30 spirit, so I would have to most likely cut Overwhelming Presence, which I don't really want to do because it gives me very consistent explosions on Herald of Ice. However, Ghost Dance is still great against something like Pinnacle bosses. You're not killing anything, so you're not getting any remnants, so might as well swap it out against Ghost Dance. And here, Ghost Dance just shines, especially in combination with Fast Forward. So against Pinnacle bosses, you're only going to have that 1,700, but whenever you get hit, you will immediately recover it. Now, one thing you could theoretically run is Acrobatics, and Acrobatics is very strong, don't get me wrong, but I get the impression that after the changes and after I can actually tank some of these ground effects and these explodies, it feels better without. So obviously you lose a little bit of evasion from replacing some of these base types. With all my Tailwind stacks up, let's quickly do that. I'm actually going up to 86% evasion. With Acro, I would only go to 68%. That is a rough difference. And honestly, it has really felt like I get more chunked by small mobs that are just auto-attacking or jumping at me, especially in breaches and whatnot, than these big ground effects. Because now I can tank a ground effect. I have so much ES, so much of a buffer that it just didn't feel necessary. However, if you feel like it is, you can still run it. I would literally just try out with, try it without. It also depends on the content you're running. Obviously, against bosses, it's a lot more valuable. But do note that if you run this against bosses, you also can't really run Ghost Dance because it depends on how much evasion rating you have. And if you take Acrobatics, the energy shield that you get back is way lower. Another item that we need to talk about is Olroth's Resolve. This is kind of like the saving grace for a lot of life builds out there. You get to these 20, 30, 40 divines, whatever it costs at whatever time. And yeah, you're going to get guard. So basically what happens is whenever you get life recovery, you instead get it as guard, which is basically another buffer. Kind of like energy shield. It's incredibly strong. It doesn't need you to change around stuff. I think I would personally run both energy shield and this. You can never be too tanky, and energy shield doesn't really cost you much to do. But in general, you can see the price tag. So I currently don't have one, but I've heard that people are using it with a jewel that has... So you basically need to lose life in order to regain life. And they basically just use one jewel that converts a little tiny bit of your mana cost to life. And then it kind of works. I have not personally tested it out, but I've heard a lot of people sing the praises of this item, and once I acquire one, I will probably do as well. Other than that, what's new in the build? I basically just replaced some stuff around so I can cap my resistances. As you can see right here, capped on resistances, pretty damn good. Evasion, I had to give up a little bit of life, but it doesn't matter. You have so much energy shield. And in general, one of the nice things about the energy shield is you don't have to press your life flask all that much anymore. It just... Whenever you get chip damaged and you have no energy shield, having to press that life flask just for that little bit, it just feels bad. And with energy shield, you never have to really interact with it. I press my life flask almost never. I did not upgrade my weapons. I'm still on the same weapons. Damage does not seem to be an issue for me at all. I basically turned around these bases to get some energy shield, but they're not even close to all that good. I just replaced my belt with a +2 charm belt. If you don't know, these used to be super expensive, but the buff rate of these has been incredibly increased. Like there's, I don't know, times 40 of these items now on the market, and you can actually afford them. I think this one costed me like a divine. So that's basically that. That's all I did. Also on top of that, I guess in terms of gems, I now have 2 6 links. I have the explosive shot 6 linked, and here I do not go for the fire infusion anymore, because it has less cold and less lightning damage. And as you can see over here on the tree, that means that I would lose a lot of damage from Essence of the Storm and Essence of the Mountain. So I decided against it, and instead I'm now going for Execute. It's not great, but it is what it is. It's a decent 6 link. And on Shock Burst rounds, I put Fresh Clip in. Honestly, I don't know if Fresh Clip is actually better than Lightning Infusion. Maybe I should have put it in earlier. But what I found is earlier, I was always one-shotting stuff. I didn't really reload much, but now that enemies are chunkier and now that I have some difficulty in my tree up here, so I have map boss difficulty, the bosses do get quite a lot tankier, so Fresh Clip is incredible. Another thing I did, but I only did because I had some extra spirit left, you can see this costs you an extra 10 spirit. Do not do this unless you have it, is get another bit of accuracy, because I found that sometimes it would sway a little bit. It's kind of weird. You can also put mana regen on, but one thing I actually found was that one roll of mana leech, either on rings or on gloves, helped out a lot, and I don't really have to press my mana flask anymore, so that's a big deal, especially when your skill gems are approaching higher levels, because the mana cost gets higher and higher, and it's not the same ratio as your damage goes up, so it gets pretty harsh. But that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this can help you out in higher tier maps once you hit a certain ceiling. I've been absolutely loving this update. I was so hoping that I could make this work without having to buy an Olroth first, because I really didn't want to save up that much money. That's a lot of grinding right there, but soon we'll get into that as well. I'm going to keep you guys posted. As for frequently asked questions, I will put out a video probably later today or whenever this comes out about stuff I get asked for on stream over and over. I know not everybody reads the max roll guide, so I'm going to incorporate all of that into a video. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the build. Lucky loot to everybody, and since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.